Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Emily Brands, and I'm the organist at Trinity Lutheran Church. Thank you for joining us today in person as well as on the live stream. Before we begin, a few housekeeping items. If you did not get a program, you can find them on a music stand just outside of the sanctuary in the lobby here. If you need the restrooms are down the hallway and on your left. There's also a single stall bathroom if you keep going and to your right. Thank you all who have attended the previous two organ recitals. Next Tuesday, we will have Mark Bainey here to play his recital for us, so please come back to join us for that. To view all other activities happening at Trinity, you can visit trinitylansdale.com. And today we are delighted to have Rudy Lucente as our organist. We were lucky enough to have Rudy here back in 2019 for a Reformation recital and to celebrate the organ. And we are so happy to have him back again to play for us today. So please help me welcome Rudy Lucente.
Thank you. Thank you, and good afternoon. It's really nice to be back at Trinity again. My wife and I have lived in Lansdale for 43 years, and we live about maybe a 12 to 15 minute walk down Valley Forge Road from the church. So this is a place that I have known over the years that has always had a wonderful music program. It's always been a great place for worship music here, and certainly Andrea Baxter and Emily Brands are just a wonderful team here, and I have had the privilege of working with them several times, actually, so it's always nice to wander down the street and play here from time to time. The piece you just heard by Oliphant Chuckerbuddy is one that Peter Conti, the Wanamaker organist, introduced me to, and sometimes I'll use it as a joke, like in a dedication concert, I'll put a Beanie Baby on the music rack, and so that people can see it, but they wonder why it's there. And I don't have the name or the composer in the program, and the Beanie Baby is the prize that goes to the person who can tell me who wrote the piece I just played. Only once in about 30 years or 25 years has anyone actually ever raised their hand and said, "Oh, that's the Chucker Buddy," you see, so not exactly a well-known composer. Anyway, when I first started as one of the assistants at the Wanamaker organ in 1978 with Keith Chapman, I was introduced to his music. And Keith was, in addition to a phenomenal concert artist, also like pretty much most of us who are organists, was a church musician. And so he liked to do arrangements of various hymn tunes, and Gaelic Air, which is the next piece on the program, I think. Yes, it is one of those arrangements. I'm not going to tell you which hymn because you'll know right from the first four notes. But it's a wonderful treatise on that. What you can't see, although maybe one or two of you who are on the extreme edges might be able to see, is that for the organists, either in the room or who are listening online, Keith's music always looks easier to play until you start to get into it. There are 2 times in this piece where he requires playing the top 2 keyboards with one hand with your right hand, while your left hand is playing something else on the lowest of the 3 keyboards, and the pedals are doing something else yet. So that, and it's this nice little play on the hymn, but it kind of is a bit of a challenge. And then the last time the hymn is played, it's in the pedals. Now, most of the time when we think of the organ pedals, we think of bass or deeper sounds, the longer pipes that you see. And in essence, that is not the case. In this piece, you'll hear just rather a high, delicate flute that actually is being played in the pedals, and then it's being accompanied with this moving accompaniment that takes both hands. So this is Keith Chapman's Gaelic Air. I am generally a devotee of English organ music, and so I tend to try to include a piece or two of some of the standard English organ literature in programs. This piece by Percy Fletcher, The Fountain Reverie, is one that actually has a lot of usefulness from my viewpoint. I'm also 29 years at the 44 years at the Wanamaker organ, 29 at Longwood Gardens. And when they redid the fountains a couple of years ago, several of us resurrected Fountain Reverie, because it's such a nice piece for that. It's an interesting piece to play, and it doesn't always lend itself to every instrument out there. And as a matter of fact, this particular instrument, which is a very historically constructed tracker instrument, most people would say, as a matter of fact, I did tell an organist friend of mine what the program was, and he's like, "You're playing Fountain Reverie on a tracker?" And I'm like, "Yeah, because this instrument has a lot of capability in it and has been designed so that you can do lots of different kinds of music on it." So in any case, this is Percy Fletcher's Fountain Reverie. You'll hear kind of a bit of a flow of the fountains and things of that nature with it. So it's a lovely piece. Originally, I was going to play a trumpet tune by David Johnson, and then Emily indicated that I think Mark Bainey is playing the David Johnson, and since he plays it better than I do, I figured better to let him do it. Well, maybe he doesn't play it better than I do. I don't know. I'll have to show up next Tuesday and find out. But in any case, no, Mark's been a friend for many years, a wonderful organist, and I would definitely invite you to come to his program because it will be, I'm sure it will be very exciting knowing him. He plays a very exciting program, to say the least. In any case, so some years ago, I was speaking with, probably years ago, probably decades ago, with Fred Swan, who at the time was the organist at the Riverside Church in New York City, and has just retired from a very large church in California. He had been then at the Crystal Cathedral for a number of years and then retired. In any case, we were discussing trumpet tunes, and he said, well, yeah, he says, I wrote one. He says, I think it'll probably get published. He said, do you want to see it? And I said, yeah. So he had it with him, and it was all handwritten. So he said, here, he said, let's get a copy of it. He said, this way, if you want to learn it, you can. So actually, I think it's really a nice trumpet tune. It's been published since then, and so this is Fred Swan's entrance into the trumpet tune arena, as it were. So once again, a wonderful piece on this instrument. Generally speaking, if you were to ask the average person who maybe comes to a church weekly or maybe on rare occasion goes to an organ concert, but I'm just talking now the average person, not those people who know enough to know to come to organ concerts. What better program is there in music, of course, spoken like a true organist. But what do organists generally do? If you ask people, they will basically say they play too loud. It's probably one of the most common complaints that I've heard over my 60 years as a church musician. But in any case, so I tried to, like even for Fred's trumpet tune, I heard him play it. And it's not one of those trumpet tunes that you're supposed to wallpaper the room with. Like that, some are not. His I believe, is more delicate. In any case, you can't go wrong ever when you go to George Frederick Handel. And this little air from the first suite really takes advantage of some of the more subtle colors of this instrument, and a way to create sort of an enveloping sound with it without having a sound that has to get too loud. There's a difference between the concept of loud and the concept of power. I can tell you that the Wanamaker organ, as the largest fully playing musical instrument in the world, is probably not as loud with a decibel meter as this instrument is at the first pew. And yet, it can create such immense power without being loud. So essentially, what I'll be doing is, in this Handel Air, is using those kind of resources in this instrument. There are two pieces that I usually choose if I want to show off various flute colors, especially on an instrument like this that has so many. And one of them is Dan Gothrop's Arioso, and the other one isn't. The interesting thing about it is, I opened my briefcase just a few minutes before thinking, you know, the Arioso's got some tricky spots in it, I really need the music for it. Well, unfortunately, the music is probably still sitting on the music rack at home on the organ. So as a result of that, I'm going to switch pieces and play the other piece that is not Dan Gothrop's Arioso, but also uses all of the flutes, uses even the same settings on the organ, and it's one of my favorite pieces to play on the Wanamaker organ. A lot of people assume that some of my favorite pieces would be monstrously big things and just, you know, just earth-shattering and you know, make Market Street, you know, crack and things like that. And while it's fun to occasionally take an instrument like that and wind it out, so to speak, like most things in life, its real beauty is in its subtlety. And that is the case, I think, of any instrument, even no matter what it is, a piano, an organ. This church is lucky to have, they have a wonderful Baldwin SD-10 Grand. They are as rare as hen's teeth, and when you find one, you just want to sit there and play it because they're just wonderful pianos. In any case, this is the Thomas Arne Flute tune, another English composer. So, of course, I would always, if I have to revert, I'm always going to revert English, as it were. So this is the Thomas Arne Flute tune, which will use exactly the same sounds as Dan Gothrop's Arioso, which then maybe if I'm ever invited back, maybe I'll remember to bring the music. I could have actually just walked home and gotten it. So. I'm getting used, for those of you who've ever had cataracts done, I'm still getting used to the fact that I don't need glasses to see. As a matter of fact, I could read the music better if it was back there. In any case, I'm just getting used to the whole concept, as it were. In any case, I think I probably maybe only once or twice before have ever played anything by Gordon Young, as far as organ solos. And there was I forget what was on. It might have been a religious service from somewhere. My wife and I were watching, and we heard this piece being played. And she's like, "Gee, I wonder what that is. It's really nice." So I waited, and it turned out it was from the Jubilee Suite of Gordon Young, and it was the Promenade. So I thought, so I just sent for it. I just got the music the other day. I've sort of started to learn it a little bit, so I'll be sort of practicing it for you, as it were, as happens. So this is the first time I've ever taken this piece out for a spin, as it were. So other than at home in practice. So, but it's a nice way to end a program. It uses a lot more of the organ, as you will hear. It's very festive. I thought it'd be very nice for 2 days after Easter, although as I said to Andrea and Emily, I said, "Gee, we're just finally, after Holy Week, finally beginning to actually take in a little oxygen again. So, but nonetheless, this is a comfortable place to be. I thank you all for being here. For those of you who are on the live stream, again, thank you for being there as well. And by all means, if you have the time and are able to come to Mark Bainey's program next week, it really will, I'm sure, be an outstanding program. He is a terrific organist and a really nice person. So thanks again for being here, and thanks to Andrea and Emily for having me, and to everyone here at Trinity. So here is Gordon Young's The Promenade from the Jubilee Suite.
Thank you for joining us today. As Rudy said, next week is Mark Bainey and his recital. Please join us for that at noon. Thank you again to Rudy. It's always such a pleasure to have him here and to have him play, so thank you.